Mm-hmm. Okay. So I was looking through the StreamYard videos, and apparently they now limit the storage space where it's like you can save 50 hours of content, but if you want more, you can pay for it. And I'm like, nah, that's okay. Y'all take out the money that you want from me once a year. That's fine. But no, I'm not going to pay anymore. There were plenty of stuff that was left up, I think is fine. But there were a couple of videos I was like, oh, okay, I thought it would stay there. But unfortunately, because it was older, it was deleted from YouTube additionally. And there was one talking about like Vosh gets mad at his audience again. And I was like, nah, I could let that one go. But another one that I remember I got some good comments on. And so I'm going to re-record it. I'm going to at least I'm going to be maybe a little bit different, but I'll pretty much hit the same chord. No matter what happens in the future, if we survive, if anybody survives in the future, you're going to still be the same person. You know, this is some good advice that I remember getting from Drill Sergeant Horsey, wherever he may be. But I remember maybe a couple weeks before graduating from basic combat training in the United States Army, 2005, and he was just like, no matter what, privates, at the end of the day, you're still going to be the same person. You go through all this training, because the thing is, I think a lot of folks, they think, oh, you go through basic training and you're a different person. Oh, and at the end of the day, no, you're still going to be the same person. I mean, if you're people like me, you're just kind of a goofy loser who just kind of follows the rules, right? Generally speaking, I talk a lot of shit on here, but in general, I play by the rules and just kind of make myself as unnoticeable as possible. There's some people who are, very diplomatic and they're willing to work with different folks and everything else for a price, right? You're still going to be the same. And I think that this is kind of the whole thing of why people leave movements and leave ideas behind, because they feel that those movements no longer fit their beliefs. So people leave the Democratic Party or they leave the Republican Party because they feel that those parties do not reflect their values. It's that simple. It's not really that complicated. Or they leave, a party because they feel it doesn't really represent them. It's the same thing. Dare I use this, but I used in just the video I recorded just now about Bookchin. Bookchin, of course, was a Marxist-Leninist for a time, but felt that the Marxists left a lot of stuff on the floor, so to speak. And so he became more of an anarchist and preached more about ecology, this and that, and a more realistic ecology and everything else like that, right? And of course, I still think Murray Bookchin, is somebody that's still like a minor player, generally speaking. That if you ask most people about, political folks other than cringy anarchists, nobody will know who the fuck that is. But, generally speaking, I think you are who you are at the end of the day. You're shaped by your you're shaped by your childhood. You are shaped by the experiences you go through, and you feel a certain way. You feel a certain way about stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. You are who you are. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to accept what you have become. People like me, generally speaking, I am somebody who is a worker bee. Face that fact. I'm not a boat rocker. I'm not somebody who likes confrontation. I like to just keep things easy. I'd rather just maintain what I have than try to gamble and try to lose everything. That's not, like I say, I'm not a risk taker, And while, I'll loosely call myself socialist or Nazbol or whichever other label, people get mad because it's like, oh, you change your label so many times. Ha, you're a loser then. It's just, to me, it just goes to show some of that can be, maybe that's somewhat grifterism, I guess, to a point, but it's also maybe you just realize that the folks that you're around are just shit. They just aren't good people. So you're like, why would I be associated with this label? Or maybe it's just because you feel like, maybe you feel that, the people that you're around or whatever, just, giving it a bad name, whichever, right? I mean, that's kind of a extension on what I was saying before, but, maybe it's just because you feel differently, your own beliefs come into it. It's like some people may call themselves, Marxist Leninist or whatever, and they're black, but then they suddenly become black nationalists, I mean, look at people like Robert Mugabe, right? It's like, yeah, Robert Mugabe was somebody who was at least called himself a Marxist Leninist. But when it came to him coming into power, he's like, oh, I got the money now, don't I? So he built himself a fancy house. He tore down some houses, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to rule as I want to. Fuck you, niggas. He's like, honkies, get the fuck out and everything else, right? So while I dislike people like Mugabe, I can be like, when you get into that level of power, it's hard not to become corrupt. I mean, some people at least try to lie to themselves, but for the most part, when you get to that level of power, you're like, this is kind of comfy, right? But even then, your true self comes out, right? Maybe this isn't quite the same chord or the same vein that I meant to tap into before, but no matter what group you're part of politically or what job you're in or whatever, you're always going to be that person, no matter what. No matter the trials and tribulations that you go through in life, by the time you get to a certain age, you just have to admit you are what you are, right? For people like me, I can put on the yo, 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 what's good, son? But it's like, it's hard to pretend when you're almost 40 years old, balding, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm still cool, bro. Yo, I'm still listening to hip hop. It's like, no, I can't really lie to myself like that. It's like I could lie and pretend like balkanization is coming tomorrow. No, it isn't. It's not. I still hold some glimmer that, something cataclysmic will occur. But I think it's not going to happen anytime soon. And people are going to fight hard to keep this system going. So I'm going to move on and, to put out videos about Texas. That's what I'm going to do. Such as the stream you saw where I talked about Governor Greg Abbott making $9 million from his settlement, tax-free annuity from the homeowners and the tree service that caused a big, heavy oak branch to fall on his back. I guess he tripped over something and then that branch fell on his back. I'm not sure exactly the series of events, but and getting $9 million over the course of now 34 years. That's a better hustle than a lot of folks, But anyway, that's the stuff I'm going to kind of put out now. I'm going to talk less about the internet drama because I, in general, don't like drama. I talked about it for clout. I talked about Vosh for clout, and I put out Vosh clips. But now that there are plenty of Vosh clips out there already, and plenty of channels, and even, his own affiliated channels like Vosh Pit, where he's getting his own money from that, the market for people like me to put out content like that is kind of pointless. And it's like, in general, not many people talk about Texas politics as a whole. And so I'm going to try to fill that void. I'm still the same person at the end of the day. I would rather just talk about a random thing that hardly anybody talks about, which is kind of Texas politics, even though I'm no expert. And there's a lot of stuff I don't even know about Texas, even though I've lived here since I was 10 years old. But I'm going to try my best and see how it goes. Anyway, I'm just rambling, and this is basically just me telling more about what content I'm going to put out. But you are who you are. You're still the same person you've always been, no matter if you're an anarchist who just thinks, yeah, bro, I hate the state. But deep down, maybe you still respect America somewhere in there. Maybe I do too. Like I say, I disagree with America on many things, but I am a product of this American system. So I realize it's like hating your dad. It's like you're still a part of him. Like I said, maybe this isn't exactly the same video that I had. You can find that video, the old one, on Odysee. So if you do want to check that one out, the old one, you can. But this is the newfangled one. Since I recorded it, I can just take it off and I'll just upload it separately. Anywho, I hope y'all enjoy that. So see you later. Goodbye.